What if humans stopped aging? 1 year ago, scientists announced they'd figured out how to stop the aging process in yeast cells. By silencing the activity of certain genes, they were able to stop their cells from getting older. But it's not just any kind of stopping. You see, there are two ways to get old. The first is that our cells have a limited number of divisions left in them before they die. It's called the Hayflick limit. And for humans, that number is around 50 divisions. Once they reach that limit, our cells can no longer repair tissue, so we die. The second way to get old is by accumulating damage. As we go about our daily lives, free radicals and environmental toxins cause mutations in our DNA. Eventually, these mutations accumulate to the point where the body can no longer function and we die. Scientists call this cellular. It's the reason why we get wrinkles and our hair turns gray. So what the scientists did was figure out how to stop both of these things from happening. They silenced the genes that control telomere shortening and DNA damage, and the yeast cells basically stopped aging. So here's what would happen if humans stopped aging. Day 1, week 1. First off, you wouldn't really notice anything different. People would still be born, and people would still die. All the old people wouldn't suddenly start to look younger. Their bodies would eventually stop breaking down, but all the stuff that had already broken would stay broken. A heart attack victim in their early 60s might be saved if doctors could somehow reverse the damage done to their heart. But they still wouldn't be able to walk through a door without bumping into things. Their bones would still be brittle, and they'd still need a cane to get around. In fact, at first, it would probably be more harmful than helpful. As people got older, they'd become more resistant to many of the most common medical treatments. Doctors wouldn't know what to do with them. But as time went on, medical science would eventually catch up and find new ways to treat the unique problems that old people would face. In the meantime, old people would still get to enjoy the benefits of no longer getting older. They'd watch the next generation get older while they stayed the same age. At first, this might seem unfair, but over time, the novelty would wear off. The young would realize that being young isn't all it's cracked up to be. After all, life doesn't get easier as you get older. You just get better at hiding the difficulty. So as the years passed, more and more people would choose to stop the aging process. At first, it would only be the rich who could afford the treatment. But as it became more widespread, more and more countries would implement a maximum age policy, like China's one-child policy, which would limit how old people were allowed to get. Many of these countries would allow people to continue working as long as they wanted to. Others would force them into retirement to make room for younger workers. Still others would attempt to strike a balance between the two, allowing older workers to keep their jobs, but forcing them to take on less strenuous duties. At some point, though, too much progress would be made in extending human lifespan and not enough in extending human usefulness. There'd come a point where the vast majority of humans would be considered useless. Meanwhile, the demand for youthful vigor would grow greater and greater as each new generation realized that youth was something worth preserving. That's when the wars would begin. At first, it would just be a few isolated incidents. A group of young people trying to steal experimental anti-aging medicine from a heavily guarded facility. A nation sending soldiers to forcibly harvest the organs of a neighboring nation's elderly population. Then the wars would escalate until every nation was fighting in multiple conflicts at once. Entire armies of super soldiers would lay siege to cities full of non-combatants. Planes would drop bombs on densely populated retirement homes. Humanity would devolve into a brutal war-torn home. But it wasn't supposed to turn out this way. It was unsupposed to turn out this way because the people who chose to stop aging did you undo it to dominate the young or harvest their organs or wage war. They did it so they could spend more time with their loved ones, so they could watch their children and grandchildren grow up instead of dying, before they had a chance to do anything. Now the world was ending, but not the way it was supposed to. In the end, It wouldn't be a nuclear holocaust or climate change or disease that killed everyone. It would be old people. The last humans alive would be those who chose to remain young forever. They'd live on in a world with no other humans, no food, no water, no oxygen. They'd wander the empty streets of what used to be great cities. They'd sleep in the empty beds of what used to be loving homes. They'd gaze at the stars from atop the empty playgrounds of what used to be thriving communities. They'd be surrounded by ghosts, the ghosts of all the people whose lives they ended. Then one day, they'd start to change. At first, it would be subtle. They'd start to feel tired. They'd lose interest in things they used to love doing. They'd gain weight. Their skin would wrinkle and sag. At first, they'd fight it. They'd try to deny the inevitable, but there was nothing they could do. As time passed, they'd slowly stop functioning. They'd become weaker and weaker until one day they'd collapse from a heart attack, stroke, or some other age-related illness. The last human would die, not from being attacked by a younger, stronger human, but from being too old to fix the damage done by time itself. And that's what would happen if humans stopped aging. Now check out what if the Earth went around the sun faster? Or check out what if everyone on Earth went to sleep at the same time?